Hi there. Alright, so we are live again. This amazing platform of Tutee E-Learning, right? So today we are going to discuss the most awaited JEE Advanced paper solution. Okay, so I'm going to discuss the maths part of the solution, and in this session I'm going to take up for the paper one. Alright. Okay, I hope I'm audible to all of you. So let's get started. I'm very excited to discuss the solution and also jump over the paper analysis and all these things. Okay, because today I'm going to reveal on how you should prepare for the questions and how you should go about preparing for the upcoming advance. Okay, there are a lot of learnings that you can take from this particular paper. Okay, so all this I'm going to discuss in this session. So let's get started. I hope you're excited as well. Okay, so today I'm going to discuss the JEE Advanced paper solution, and today in this paper I'm going to discuss only the paper one. Please make sure that I'm going to discuss only the paper one. So there is going to be a part two as well. Okay, and in this session I'm going to discuss only the single correct and the multiple choice questions. Okay, so there will be a part. This is basically part 1 of our JEE Advanced paper solution discussion, and there is also going to be part 2 that is going to come up very soon. Okay, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click on the bell icon so as to never miss any upcoming notification. So whenever we come live with the part 2, you get the notification and we actually start discussing the part 2 as well. Okay, but in today's session I'm going to discuss the single correct question and the multiple type questions. Okay, and also I'm going to discuss what are the important learnings that you can take from this particular JEE Advanced paper. Okay, so before we start, I would like to give you a brief overview over the JEE Advanced paper analysis. And so I have done a bit of an analysis over the paper. So here is my um, so here we go with the yep. So I what I find out in the paper. So I hope you're all set to start. And as you all know, this paper was conducted by the organizing institute was IIT Kanpur, right? So it was quite a good paper though. Okay, quite a balanced paper. Okay, and it happened on May 18th, right? May 18th. I hope you remember the D-Day, right? So all of you who were on that part of the day, okay, please comment me. Please comment in the live chat. Please comment yo in the live chat. Okay, all right. So again, I'm repeating for someone who is new to this channel. Here we are discussing content especially targeting the JEE Advanced and JEE Mains examination, especially for class 11th and class 12th. Okay, I teach the maths portion of the JEE preparation, and along with that we also have chemistry and physics as well on this particular channel. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel and make sure that you stay tuned for this particular channel, right? So with that, let's get started. And today I'm going to discuss the single correct and the multiple type questions over here. And okay, so and someone who is new to this channel and doesn't know about what is JEE Mains and what is JEE Advanced, I will tell you that JEE Advanced is the examination that you need to clear in order to get an admission into any of your IITs, especially the engineering degrees. Okay, and it is generally conducted in two phases. The first phase is like paper one. Okay, and we have paper two as well. Okay, so paper one and paper two, these are the both the papers that you're going to have. uh, so there are paper one and paper two. Paper one and paper two both are of 3 hours each, and okay, both are of 3 hours each. Okay, and if you look at the paper over there, it was quite a balanced paper though. Okay, and if you look at the maths portion especially, I can say the maths portion in paper one was kind of ranging from moderate to difficult, and or maybe you can consider it bit of difficult. Okay, but and it was time consuming though. Okay, it was time consuming. Yes, I agree on that particular part. And if you consider physics as well as chemistry, what I found in physics was moderate and kind of difficult as well, but chemistry was way straightforward. Okay, and the overall pattern remained largely unchanged. Like as you all know that in J Advanced we generally have single correct, multiple type questions, numerical type questions, matrix match type questions. All that mix you can see in paper one. There was the single correct, multiple choice, numerical type questions. Okay, so that were all much part of the paper one. Okay, and if you look at the paper 2 of J Advanced, which are moderately, I would say it was bit of tougher than the paper 1. Okay, generally it is not the case always. Generally it is seen that the paper 1 is tougher and paper 2 is sometimes easier. Okay, so but yeah, but it was bit tougher, I would say, rather from the paper 1. And yes, that's all about what I need to mention. And again, the pattern was again the same. Okay, so that is all. Okay, now with this let's get started. And before I start with the questions, our goal is basically to discuss the analysis which I have told to you, and along with that you can see that I'm going to discuss the solution over there. Okay, now before we start, again I'm going to make sure that you know the rules, okay, about the questions. So here is the important rules that you need to know before we start on solving the questions over here. So you can see the first section actually consists of 4 questions, and each question has 4 options, and only one of these is correct option. Okay, and answer for each questions, choose the option corresponding to the correct answer. Now this is very important to know the marks, how you are going to get the marks. So for correct marking you're going to get +3, and for no marking, if you have chosen no answers, then you're going to get 0, that's obvious. And if you make it mistake, then you're going to get -1. So very careful, be very careful when you're marking your answer. Okay, you get +3 on doing good one, but you get -1, that accounts for -4 actually. Okay, all right, so let's start with this first question over here. Okay, so as you can see, the question is basically from the functional equations over here. It says that R denotes the set of all real numbers, and AI comma BI belongs to the real numbers such that I belongs from 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so I consists of only 1, 2 and 3. It says that let us define a function f and function g which has both the domain and the codomain as real number, and h which is also the codominant domain as a real number, and the 3 functions are defined as follows. Okay, now what you can see and observe over here is that the h of x, which is defined in terms of functional equation of f of x plus 1 minus g of x plus 2, and it is also said that g of x is not equal to f of x. Okay, right, so this was a interesting problem. Okay, let's see how we should go about solving this problem. Let us try to understand. Okay, now if you try to look at this problem over here, first and foremost thing what I would suggest in your place is try to understand what is our h of x, because ultimately you have to find out that what is the coefficient of x cube in h of x. Okay, so if you look at h of x, it is defined as f of x plus 1 minus g of x plus 2. Okay, h of x is equals to f of x plus 1 minus g of x plus 2. So what I would do, let us try to find out let us try to figure out first of all what is f of x plus 1. So if I try to figure out what is f of x plus 1, it is basically a1 plus 10 times of, in place of x I will put x plus 1 plus a2 times of x plus 1 whole square plus a3 times of x plus 1 whole cube plus x plus 1 whole to the power 4. Okay, now what I actually have to find it out is ultimately the coefficient of x cube, right? So if I try to find out that what is my coefficient of x cube in f of x plus 1, then I'll find out that the coefficient of x cube in f of x plus 1 is basically going to be like from this part over here, and it is going to come out as a3, right? A3 over here, and one part from here, that is going to be plus. So if you just do the binomial expansion of this, it is going to be like 4c0 plus 4c0 x to the power 4 plus 4c1 x to the power 3 and so on, right? So I just need the power of 3, so that's why I'm written like that, or you can complete it as well, right? So this part is going to give you the coefficient of x cube as 4c1. Okay, so that is going to come out as just 4. Okay, so the coefficient of x cube in f of x plus 1 is going to be this a3 plus 4c1. Similarly, in the same notation, if you find out what is g of x plus 2 and try to figure out that what is the coefficient of x cube in 8, then what are you going to get is that, so if I try to put g of x plus 2, let's do it over here, g of x plus 2, it is going to be like, it is going to be b1 plus 3 times of x plus 2 plus b2 times of x plus 2 whole square plus b3 times of x plus 2 whole cube plus x plus 2 whole to the power 4, right? Now from this part I have to figure out that what is the coefficient of x cube in it. So the coefficient of x cube from here, from this part is going to come out as b3, and from this part is going to come out as 4c3, and then we will have 2. Okay, 4c3 into 2, and that is going to be equals to b3 plus 8. So ultimately, if you look at h of x, which is basically equals to f of x plus 1 minus g of x plus 2, right? G of x plus 2, and then from here if you find out that what is the coefficient of x cube, right? Coefficient of x cube in h of x, it is going to come out as, it is simply going to come out as, so a3 a3 plus 4, right, minus b3 plus 8. Okay, that is going to be like a3 minus b3 minus of 4. Okay, a3 minus b3 minus of 4, right? Now it is also said that g of x is not equal to f of x. Okay, g of x is not equal to f of x for all x. Okay, it is said that g of x is not equal to f of x for all x, and if you have that, that basically means that I can write also f of x minus g of x is not equal to 0 for all x, which I can write is that this equation g of f of x minus g of x equal to 0 has no real root, right? Has no real root. That is also another way of doing that, right? So what I'm doing is that if this is not equal to 0 for all x, that basically means that f of x minus g of x equals to 0 also has no real roots. Is this part clear to all of you? So if I do this, that it has no real root, what I can also understand that this was the biggest catch, I would say, that was given in the problem, because none of the students, not generally, okay, none of the students actually go about solving the questions in this particular direction. Okay, they are generally trained to think of the question in the way that previous questions were already asked in the previous year, right? But this was a kind of interesting fact though, okay, that they also tried to utilize this particular equation. Generally people tend to skip this particular part of the condition. They think that okay, it's not even that useful, right? It's just okay, f of x is not equal to g of x is very obvious reason. Okay, but what here is also mentioned, because you don't know about the information of a3 and b3, so in order to get to the numeric value or the integer value of the coefficient of x cube, what you need to also find out, is that you have to actually get the value of a3 and b3. So students were very confused over this particular place, that how should they proceed. But the biggest catch was that this equation, if it is not equal to 0, so I can write this equation is not equal to 0. Also, I can write this equation is equal to 0, has no real roots. Both are the same thing. So if I do this, this is going to turn out as, so if I do f of x minus g of x, it is going to turn out as a1 minus b1 plus 7 times of x plus a2 minus b2 times x square plus a3 minus b3 times x cube is equals to 0, has no real root. So if I have a cubic equation and it has no real roots, what I can also try to understand from here is that if this is a cubic equation and it has no real roots, first and foremost what I can also do is that now from here, if I make this, now if you can also read the question over here, it says that ai's and bi's belongs to the real part, right? What is more interesting is that now if you have to find out no real root condition in cubic equation, that is not possible. That is not possible. So a cubic equation will obviously have at least one real root. Okay. In case it has complex root, the complex root will occur in a conjugate pairs. So that is two roots, and one root you're definitely going to be a real root. So there basically means us that if this equation has no real root, then it should not be a cubic equation. That basically brings us that this should not be a cubic equation. This is very, very interesting to know. And then if it's not a cubic equation, then I can make it a not a cubic equation by making the coefficient equal to 0. By making the coefficient of x cube equal to 0. So from this part, I'm going to get a3 minus b3 is equals to 0, or a3 is equal to b3. So if I put that same thing over here, this part a3 minus b3 is going to be 0, and ultimately the coefficient of x cube is going to come out as minus of 4. That is option C, all my friends. Okay, so option C is going to be the very correct answer of this particular question over here. I hope this question is clear to all of you. I hope this question is clear to all of you. Please take a moment. Okay, please take a time to appreciate the idea that I mentioned over here. Okay, please take your time to appreciate this particular idea. This question is very, very simple. Okay, in case you are clear with the basic concepts and you are able to apply your mind in different directions, then this question was just a piece of cake. I hope you enjoyed this question as much as I did solving with all of you. Okay, please take your time, try to go through the steps, try to appreciate the steps. Okay, and in case you have any problem, because there are a lot of important steps involved in this problem, so it might be an issue to you. Okay, so sometimes the question might seem bit of difficult in the beginning, but the solution is very, very simple. Okay, so please take your time to digest the solution. Okay, and I would like to say that this question was really wonderful. Okay, and I really enjoyed doing it. Okay, that's why I say again, J Advance really does some miracle. Okay, in terms of setting questions. Okay, all right. So please let me know if in case you have any questions. Okay, I'm going through a live chat one by one. Please let me know if you have any questions. Do let me know in case you have any questions. And in case you are watching this video after the live session is over, you can always leave your wonderful comments, wonderful doubts as a comments. Okay, I would be very happy to answer all of your doubts. Okay, whenever I get time, I definitely answer as soon as possible. Okay, so don't forget to make the best use of that. Okay, but try to appreciate this idea over here. Okay, it's a very simple problem, and I hope if you have solved this question, I hope you have all got the answer as minus of 4. Right? Please do let me know. Please let me know in case you have any questions. Put that question in the live chat and please let me know. Right? That's great. So that's being said, um, okay. So it was a pretty good question though. Okay. Now let's try to move to the next problem over here. Okay. So the next problem we have with us is another problem, and it's a problem of probability. Okay. Let's try to see how we can proceed to solve this problem over here. Okay. So if you look at this problem, it is said that there are 3 students, S1, S2 and S3, and these 3 students are basically given a problem to solve, any problem to solve. Okay, and it is said that consider the following event as follows. The first event, it is mentioning about U, and this U is basically an event that it says that at least one of the students, S1, S2, S3, can solve the problem. And in the second, it is said that there is a second event V, where S1 can solve the problem given that neither S2 nor S3 can solve the problem. and W is an event which is given as S2 can solve the problem and S3 cannot solve the problem. Okay, please make sure that when you're reading the problem, please give emphasis upon the words. Okay, that here the words used are and, okay, here the words used neither nor. Okay, so this is very very important to basically gather the information about the question in order to get to the proper event. Okay, in order to get to the probability of the proper event. And lastly, it is said that E is an event where S3 can solve the problem. Let's say that there is any event E, and the P of E denotes the probability. We all know this is the probability operator, and it says the probability of U is half, probability of V is 1 upon 10, probability of W is 1 upon 12. So to find out ultimately what is the probability of P of T, that's an interesting problem, right? So what I would suggest doing is that first and foremost, try to draw a Venn diagram of this. Okay, you have been provided with certain information about the probability, and you have to, the best way to solve this problem is by doing the Venn diagram. So from the Venn diagram and by doing the analysis of the Venn diagram, you're going to definitely get to the solution over here. So let's see, let's try to first of all, since we don't have information about the probability, that what is the chances that S1 can solve the problem, what is the chances that S2 can solve the problem, and what is the chances that S3 can solve the problem. So let's try to assume, that the probability that S1 can solve the problem be A, be some letter A, the probability that S2 can solve the problem be some B, the probability that S3 can solve the problem be some C. Okay, so these are the three probabilities that I am assuming in the beginning, and it is being said that, and it is not mentioned explicitly, but what I could suggest is that if you consider that, obviously, yeah, the three students are basically given a problem, and this is, I'm assuming this by assuming a criteria that they are independently solving these problems. Okay, so they are independently solving this. Okay, please make a note of this, that they are independently solving this. Okay, so that's how we start with the assumption. Okay, now it says that U is basically event when S1 can solve the problem, given that neither S2 nor S3, so neither of S2 nor S3 has solved the problem. Okay, so that is what your event U looks like, or writing U as I would suggest writing U as, so oh, sorry, very sorry. I just read about V over here. Okay, extremely sorry. So U says that at least S1, S3, and S3 can solve the problem. Okay, that means basically U S1 union S2 union S3. Okay, it is said that at least any one of them can solve the problem. It can also happen that at least two of them can solve the problem, at least three of them can solve the problem. So it is just simply the union of three sets. Okay, or I would say three events. Okay, so it can also be given as so if I try to find a probability of U, I can write this probability of U as 1 minus probability of U complement. Okay, U complement. And from this part, what I can do is that I can write this expression as 1 minus A, and since I'm considering this is independent event, so it is 1 minus A into 1 minus B into 1 minus C, and that is basically given as 1 by 2 as well. So if I just equate that, I'm going to get one equation, that is 1 minus A into 1 minus B into 1 minus C. It is going to come out as again 1 upon 2. So that's our first equation. That's a one general equation. Okay. So that's our first equation, right? Then we have our second event, that is our V. So if I look at V, so V is basically said that S1 can solve the problem given that neither of S2, so S2 complement intersecting S3 complement, they can solve the problem. Okay, so if I consider this, and if I try to take the probability of this, the probability of S1, so this is probability of S1 given that S2 complement intersecting S2 complement intersecting S3 complement. Okay, so this can be given as simply as, so if I just use a conditional probability, so this can be given as probability of So I just prefer writing on the next page. Okay, or maybe I will write it over here. Okay, so this is just continuing it over here. So in this particular space, so I can write this probability of S1 intersecting S2 complement intersecting S3 complement whole divided by probability of S2 complement intersecting S3 complement. Okay, and this is given to us as 1 upon 10. Okay, because probability of V is given us as 1 upon 10, right? So this is what is given as 1 upon 10. Then the probability of W, then probability of W, which is given as that um, S2 can solve the problem and S3 can solve the problem, cannot solve the problem. Okay, so this is basically like it's AND, so it's basically probability of S2 intersecting S3 complement. Okay, so that is basically given as B into 1 minus C, which is basically mentioned in the problem as 1 upon 12. Now if you have all this information over here, what I would suggest doing is that, so if we look at this particular condition over here, this particular condition, it is like A into 1 minus B into 1 minus C, and this is divided by 1 minus B into 1 minus C. So this is basically like A. So A is equal to 1 upon 10. So if I see it and I put it back in the first equation, so equation number 1, if I use this all information and I use it in equation number 1, it is like 1 minus 1 upon 10 multiplied with 1 minus B multiplied with 1 minus C, and that is coming out as 1 by 2. So from here I get one more equation, that is 1 minus B into 1 minus C is equals to 5 upon 9, is equals to 5 upon 9. Now from this very result, what I can also do is that I can write what I'm doing to do is that, what I'm willing to do is that I'm just going to use this one part over here that is mentioned as, so I'm just dividing. Okay, so B into 1 upon, so I'm just dividing this 2, this let's call this result as equation 2, let's call this result as equation 3. So I'm just dividing it. So what I'm going to get is that B upon 1 minus B is going to come out as, so B upon 1 minus B, this part is going to come out as 1 upon 12 into 9 upon 5. Okay, 1 upon 12 into 9 upon 5, and that is going to be equals to 3 upon 20, 3 upon 20, right? So from this result, I'm going to get the value of B, which is going to come out. So if you just do the solution by yourself, so from here you can cross multiply and then you solve the linear equation in B. The B part is going to come out as 3 upon 23. Okay, so B is going to come out as 3 upon 23. Okay, B upon 23. Then once you get B, it's very easy to get C because you put it back into the equation 3 and you get the value of C. So 1 minus C into B, and B is basically, so 1 minus B is going to be like 20 upon 23. Okay, sorry. So just a minute. Um, okay, I'm putting into this, anyways I can put any of the equation. Okay, because once I have the value of B, I can put in this equation or I can put in this equation, and then I can get the value of C. So if you solve it from here, it's very simple. So from this result, your C is going to come out as 13 upon 36. Your C is going to come out as 13 upon 36. So once you have B, once you have C, once you have A, you already have A from this second condition. Okay, so once you have all those, your probability of T is simply that S3 can solve the problem. It is just equal to it's just equal to C, and that is going to be like 13 upon 36. So you just have to find the probability that what is the chances that S3 can solve the problem independently. So that is basically option number A, which is going to be the correct answer. Very simple, straightforward problem. You just assume this. Since something is not given, it is a very simple problem that you can also find this kind of problems in the previous year paper as well. So I won't say this is a difficult problem. It's a very easy, just a um, warming problem. Okay, so I would say generally when you see difficult problems in the beginning and sometimes the questions are not being solved up, don't be egoistic. That is very important to understand. Don't be egoistic. Try to go through the paper, try to figure out the easy questions. Okay, try to find the easy question first of all, and once you get the easy questions, it's very important. Okay, once you get the easy question, it's very important to have your patience, solve it step by step and get it done correctly. Okay, solve it step by step and get it done correctly. Okay, and all the steps are going to be easily be solved. Okay, so that being said, I hope you are getting this question over here. The answer is going to be option number A. Please let me know in case you have any questions. Please put your questions in the live chat. Please put your questions in the live chat. Okay, so please put your questions in the live chat. I will try to answer all of your queries in case you have one. Okay, please let me know in case you have any questions. I will try to answer all of your queries. Okay, please try to look at the solution, how did I proceed, and someone who is in class 12th and have already studied probability, I would say you should also try to solve these questions. Okay, so it's a very straightforward problem. Okay, just look at the problem. Okay, try to understand the problem. Okay, okay, is this part clear to all of you? Is this part clear to all of you? Please let me know if this part is clear or not. Okay, in case somewhere anything is not clear, you can let me know. Right? Okay, I'm going to a live chat. Please put any questions you have any. Okay, just go through the steps once again in case you have any questions. Okay, I think the steps are pretty simple. Okay, just follow the steps and let me know in case you have any questions. Okay, all right. So if you don't have any questions, then we can. Okay, so if you don't have any questions, we can proceed with the next problem then. So we can start to solve the next problem as well. Okay, so this is the second problem on the single correct type. Okay, another very simple problem. Very simple. All right. So considering you don't have any more questions, let's move to the next problem then. Okay. So the next problem is another problem from the calculus portion, and you have a particular function which is defined as follows. Right. So let's try to look over the problem and what the problem has to offer. Okay, let's see. The problem says that R denotes the set of real numbers and a function is defined from real number to real number. That means the domain and the codomain are both the real number, and your function is defined as follows. So if you look at the function over here, let me write it down. So it's a piecewise defined function and it has different definitions in different intervals. So 2 minus 2x square minus x square times of sine of 1 upon x, and it is possible when x is not equal to 0, and it is equal to 2 when x is equal to 0. Okay, so you have two conditions, that when x is not equal to 0, you have one particular functional definition, and when x is equal to 0, you have another functional definition, right? So if you have this following definition over here, then you have to find out that which of the following statement is true. So if you look at a statement, it is first of all checking for the differentiability over there. Then it is asking for that there is a positive real number delta such that f is a decreasing function on the interval 0 to delta. And it is saying that in the third option is saying that for any positive real number delta, the function is not an increasing function on the interval minus delta to 0. And in the last, we have an option x equal to 0 is a point of local minima, right? So students who have already solved that problem in the actual D-Day, please let me know how did you solve it. Okay, and in case you have already finished you have started with the preparation of calculus, you can always let me know. Okay, you can always let me know about how should we go about proceeding. First and foremost, we should check for the differentiability. Exactly, let's try to figure out whether the first option is correct or not. Okay, So if I look at a differentiability check, okay, differentiability check at x equal to 0. So for differentiability, what you need to do is that, so for differentiability at x equal to 0, so what differentiability at x equal to 0, what you need to check is that you have to check the right hand derivative should be equal to the left hand derivative at that particular point. So if your right hand derivative is equal to the left hand derivative at that particular point, then you are going to have the following function as differentiable function. Okay, so it is very important to check this, that your RHD should be equal to LHD at that particular point for function to be differentiable. Okay, so let's try to find it out, that differentiability condition over here. And so also what I can also write in differentiability is that it's just nothing but it is a continuity of f dash of x. So if you check the continuity of f dash of x, that's the differentiability condition. Okay, so let's try to understand how we should proceed with this question, right? So let us try to first of all find it out whether it is continuous or not. If a function is not continuous, then it is not differentiable, right? So at x equal to 0, so limiting value at x equals to 0, so limit x equals to 2, limit as x tends to 0, limit as x tends to 0, this f of x, this limit is going to, so for x tending towards 0, this limit is going to come out as, 2, which is also equal to f of 0, and therefore it is continuous. Okay, so continuity check is done, so it is continuous. So once I have this function as a continuous function, next my check is going to be derivative, okay, or differentiability check. So that is f dash of 0, I can write it as limit x tending towards 0, then I should write it as f of x minus f of 0 divided by x minus 0. So that is going to come out as limit x tending towards 0, and f of x, I can do this, write it over here as 2 minus 2x square minus x square times of sine of 1 upon x minus f of 0, which is equal to 2, and whole divided by x. So this 2 and this 2 are going to cancel, and if you see x, the 1x is going to cancel out, and ultimately the limit is going to come out as equals to 0. The limit f dash of x is going to come out as 0, irrespective of whether you are looking at the right hand limit or left hand limit. Both the limits are going to be 0, and therefore this limiting value, this LHD and RHD things are equal, so therefore it is differentiable. Yes, it is a differential function, so the first option, that it is not a differential function, is not correct over here. So the option A is not correct. Okay, so then then there is a positive real number, then it is said in the second option, it said that there is a positive real number delta such that the function is decreasing function on the interval 0 to delta, such that it is a decreasing function, on the interval 0 to delta. Okay, so if we look over there, right, if we look over there, so f is a decreasing function on the interval 0 to delta. Okay, there is a positive real number delta and it is a decreasing function. So let's check that. So if I find it out, the f dash of x, okay, if I find out f dash of x, it is going to come out as, minus of 4x, and then we will have plus minus of 2 times of x into sine of 1 upon x, and then also we are going to have it as minus of x square cos of 1 upon x multiplied with minus of 1 upon x square, right? So this is going to be the derivative. If you look at the derivative over here, you can notice is that, so if you find out the derivative, and also there is one more problem over there, that is one more option, is that x equal to 0, is a point of local minimum, right? So if you find out that the RHD and the LHD value, okay, if you go a little bit ahead of 0, RHD and the LHD thing, so if you try to plot the sign scheme of f dash of x, okay, if you try to plot the sign scheme of f dash of x around 0, okay, f dash of x around 0, so what you will find it out, if you try to apply the same concept of limit over there, and if you put a little bit extra value around 0, so in the right of 0, so if h is greater than 0, if h is greater than 0, what you'll find out that the RHD or the derivative thing is a negative, and the derivative before 0, that is negative part of the x's values or the left hand of 0, it is positive. So if you find it out with the limiting thing, you'll find out that this is changing from positive to negative. So when the f dash sign changes from positive to negative, and f dash sign changes from positive to negative, we actually have maxima. So x equal to 0 is a point of maxima. Okay, so this also option is rules out because it says that it's a minima. That's also incorrect, right? Now it says that decreasing interval. So what we can do is that we can check it very easily. What you can do is that, so if we look at this interval from 0 to, so if you are having any issues, I can also write it down for you. So how we are doing that, what I'm doing is that I'm trying to find out LHD. So LHD can be given as limit h tending towards 0 positive minus of h times 2 plus sine of 1 upon h. Okay, and that is negative. And if you find out the LHD, so that is RHD, and if you find out the LHD, that is limit h tending to 0 negative minus h times of 2 plus sine of 1 upon h, and that is going to come out as positive. So that's how I'm basically writing the part over here. So if you look at in the intervals from 0 to positive infinity, it is negative. So that basically means it's a decreasing interval, and which basically makes option number B as the correct option. Okay, option number B as the correct option. So in this interval from 0 to delta, which is delta is positive, so we will have f of x as a decreasing function. So therefore the correct answer to this particular problem is going to be option number B. I hope this is clear to all of you. I hope the solution is clear to all of you. Please do let me know if in case you have any questions, right? I hope the solution is clear for all of you. Please let me know in case you have any questions. Okay. Is this part clear to all of you? Please let me know if this part is clear to all of you or not. Okay. I will try to repeat myself again in case something is not clear. Okay. Just let me know, is this part clear to all of you or not? Is this part clear to all of you? Please let me know in case if you have any questions. Okay, just go through the steps and try to understand the steps. Okay, it's a pretty simple question. Just I followed the main concepts, and if you just follow the concept and do the steps step by step, the question is going to be very, very simple. Okay, there's a very simple problem that you can see that it's a question about limits. अरुण चौधरी भैया मेरे 120 प्लस बन रहा है, कैन आई गेट IT? Yes, definitely, 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 Arun. Very good, amazing score. Okay, very good, excellent. Darshan, next question, sir. Yes, I'm going to start with the next problem. Yes, correct. All right, so next question, we have any problem of matrix, and this is the last question we have in the single correct type questions. Okay, so let's try to see how we can go to solve this problem over here. So let's try to look at the problem. So it says that we have a matrix given over here as a P matrix, and it's also said that the P times Q is equals to Q times P, where Q is the number. So we have to basically find out the number of 3 by 3 invertible matrix. Okay, so invertible means the inverse of matrix is possible with the integer entries. Okay, so all the entries of this matrix Q is integer, and it's also said that Q inverse is equals to Q transpose. This is a very interesting statement over here. Get Q inverse is equal to Q transpose. Since all the entries of Q's are basically integer entry, what I will do is that I will assume Q as A, B, C, and all of these are integers D, E, F, G, H, I, right? And then this is our matrix Q. And let's try to first of all find out what is our PQ. So if I try to find out what is PQ, that is 2, 0, 0, 0, 2, 0, and then 0, 0, 3. Okay, and then if I multiply with Q, that is basically A, B, C, D, E, F, and then G, H, I. And this, if I do the multiplication, matrix multiplication over here, the result is going to be the result is going to come out as, so you can do it very simple because it's a diagonal matrix, so you don't have to do much of the effort. It is going to be like 2A, 2B, 2C, is going to 2D, 2E, 2F, is going to be 3G, 3H, and 3I. Okay, very simple for you. And then similarly, we will also do the matrix multiplication, that is QP. So if I do the QP matrix multiplication, what I'm going to get is that, so if you do the QP multiplication, and that is very same to this PQ over here, right? So you can check it, right? So that is correct, coming correct, right? Now, so okay, yeah, I have to do this, and you have to just equate them, right? So if I do this QP, so if I do this QP, you're going to get the result as, you're going to do the QP, you're going to get the result as 2A, 2B, and then you will have 3C. This is going to be 2D, 2E, and 3F, and this is going to be like 2G, 2H, 3I, right? Okay, and then we have to compare, then say that PQ is equals to QP, and if I just compare them, you're going to get C is equal to 0, and then we'll have we'll have because the only integer possible for this result should be equal, right? That is C is equal to 0, and then we'll have F is also equal to 0, then we'll have H is also equal to 0, and then we'll have G is also equal to 0. Therefore we will have our Q matrix as A, B 0, C, D 0, and then with 0, 0, E over here, right? Oh, sorry, very sorry, this is D and this should be E. Okay, right? Okay, this should be I, right? Correct. This should be I over here, right? And then if you look at the next condition, that is Q inverse is equal to Q transpose, you can take this and write it as Q into Q transpose is equals to identity matrix. And then if you perform this operation over here, AB0, DE0, 0, 0, I, and then you do with the Q transpose thing over here, you're going to get identity matrix 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. And if you do that, you're going to get the condition matrix equation like A square plus B square, AC plus BD 0, then we have AC plus BD, then we have C square D square 0, 0, 0, and then we have I square, and this is equal to identity matrix of 3 cross 3. So if I just get all the cases for A and B's and C's, D, so there will be two cases actually because they are integer entities, that is like 0, 0 and 1, or we can have AB as -1 and 0, right, 1 comma 0, and also we can have a 0 comma -1, right. So if you consider all these cases, you're going to get the possible solutions of C and D as E and D as well, and I as well, right. So I can be plus or minus 1, right. So with that you will see the total number of solutions, total possible solutions for Q is going to come out as 16. So total number of possible solutions for Q is going to come out as 16. Okay, so therefore the correct answer for this particular problem is going to be equal to 16. That is option number C. That is option C over here. Okay, that is going to come out as option C. Is this part clear to all of you? Is this part clear to all of you? You can try to check the steps. Okay, you can try to check the steps again and again. Okay, the steps are pretty simple. Okay, just go to the steps and try to get your steps match as well. Okay, maybe you can cross verify in case if you feel that you're not able to get any steps. Okay, is that clear to all of you? Is this part clear to all of you? Is this part clear to all of you? Right, so with this question we are all done with the solving the single correct type questions. Okay, so now comes we have to solve the multiple type of questions. Okay, let's try to go about solving the multiple types of questions then. Now before I start with the multiple type questions, very important to focus on the rules. Okay, so this multiple type section was given in section 3, section 2, and it consists of three questions, and you can see there are 4 options and each has more than one options that is possible, right. For all the correct options that you have chosen, if there are only one correct option, if you have chosen that, in that case also you will get +4. For partial marking, +3, +2, +1 and 0, and in any other case you are going to get -2. So this is very important, and it's a very same thing that you have in all the previous paper as well. Okay, now this question is an amazing question taken from the 3D geometry part. Okay, so it's a question about planes. Let's try to say how we can go about solving this problem. It said that line 1 be the line of intersection of the planes given by the equation. So there are planes which are given, and the line L1 is defined as the line which is given by the intersection of these two planes. So there are two planes. Let's say this plane has some equation 2x plus 3y plus z is equals to 4, and this equation is 2x plus 2y plus z is equal to 5, and this is the line of the intersection which is given as L1. It's very easy to find out L1 because we know that the direction of this L1 will be given out by the cross product of this n1 and n2 vector. Okay, so if I do this, the direction of the L vector or L1 vector is simply given out by n1 vector cross n2. Okay, so if you perform this cross product over there, so if you perform this cross product, so let's try to perform the cross product in order to get to this form. So therefore from there we can find out. So if I do the cross product, this vector is going to come out as I cap minus j cap plus of k cap. You can do it on your own and you can check out. This result is going to come out as I cap minus j cap plus of, so yes, so this is going to come out as, so therefore I can write L1. Therefore, I can write the equation of L1. Okay, equation of line L1 as follows: x minus, so I can take any point on the line, and what I can do is that if I keep z equal to 0 and then I solve for x and y, that is possible, and then I will get x and y and the point of intersection as -7 and 6. Okay, so that is basically brings us x plus 7 by 1 is equals to y minus 6 by minus of 1 is equal to z upon 1. So that is our equation of the line L1. Okay, similarly L2 is the line which is passing the point 2 comma minus 1 comma 3, and it is parallel to L1. So therefore equation of line L2 is given at x minus 2 divided by 1 is equals to y plus 1 divided by minus of 1 is equals to z minus 3 by 1. Okay, is equals to as follows over here, right? So that is our equation of the line L2. That is our equation of the line L2, because it has the same direction but it is passing to the point P. Therefore, and it is said that suppose the line L2 meets the plane M at point Q, and R be the foot of perpendicular drawn from P to the plane M, drawn from P to the point M. Okay, suppose the line L2 meets the plane M at point Q and R be the foot of perpendicular drawn from P to this plane M. Okay, so in that case, let us try to figure out that the equation of plane. Okay, so if we look over here, the equation of the plane, equation of plane M is given by 2x plus y minus 2z is equal to 6, and in that case I can assume the coordinate on, and coordinate of Q can be given out as lambda plus 2 minus lambda minus 1 and lambda plus 3, and it says that Q lies on M. So from there I can find out a value of lambda, and if I put it over here, 2 times of lambda plus 2 minus lambda minus of 1 and then minus of 2 times of lambda plus 3 is equal to 6. So from this you will solve it, lambda is going to come out as minus of 9. Lambda is going to come out as minus of 9. That gives my coordinate Q as minus 7 comma plus 8 comma minus 6. Okay, now if I need to find out foot of perpendicular from, if I need to find out foot of perpendicular from foot of perpendicular, and that is given as R. Let's assume that is x1 y1 z1. Okay, that I have to find the foot of perpendicular. So if I do that from from P, that is x1 minus 2 divided by 2 is equals to y1 plus of 1 divided by 1 is equals to z1 minus 3 divided by minus of 2, and that is equal to minus 4 minus 1 minus 6 minus 6. So I'm putting this point P into this equation of plane M, and then divided by a square plus b square plus c square, that is going to come out as 9. So if I solve this, I'm going to get the coordinate of R, of the foot of perpendicular as 4 comma 0 comma 1. So once I have this information, the triangle, because in the option, one of the option is mentioned about finding out the area of the triangle PQR. One of the option is mentioned about finding out the area of the triangle PQR. So if I try to find out from these coordinates, so once I have the coordinate of P, Q and R, I can easily find out for the area of the triangle, which you can do by finding out this particular vector and this particular vector, and the area will be half time. So let's call this, so this will be like PQ cross QR mod of it. Okay, that is going to be the area. That is going to be the area. Okay, that is going to be the area. So with this you will see that the area is going to come out from there. Okay, and so what results I have got so far is that, so you have to also find out the length of the segment PQ. It is very simple. If you just find out by the distance formula, the length of the segment PQ is going to come out as 9 root 3. So therefore option A is going to be correct. Similarly, length of line segment QR is 15. So if you solve it, length of line segment QR is going to come out as root under 234. It's not 225. So therefore this is not correct. Okay, this is not correct. So B option is not correct. Similarly, if you find out the area of the triangle PQR, it is going to come out as 3 upon 2 square root of 2, 3, 4. So that is going to be also be correct. And similarly, again, if you find the acute angle, it's very simple to find out the acute angle between the vectors. Okay, just use the dot product to find out this angle over here. If you try to find it out, it's not going to come out as cos inverse of 1 upon 2 root 3. So this is also incorrect. Okay, so the only correct option for this first option is basically going to be option A and as well as option C. Is this question clear to all of you? Is this question clear to all of you? Please do let me know. Please do let me know if this question is clear or not. Is this question clear? Okay, so I see no comments, and I think that this is clear to all of you. So anyone who have given the J advanced paper, did you also get the answer as option A and option C? Did you also get the answers as option A and option C? Please let me know. Okay, so the correct answer to this particular problems is going to be option A and option C. Okay, so in case you have done this question correctly, please do let me know as well. Right. So with this, let's move to the next problem. It's a very straightforward problem. I would say it's not even a difficult problem. Okay, it's a question that you can always find out in the previous year paper. Okay, so if you look at the previous year papers, you can find out a lot of questions over there. Okay, so just consider going through your previous year paper. Okay, you can find this question. So someone who has done a good practice over the previous year questions, this question should be a cakewalk to that person. Okay, so make sure. So there is one more learning is that for preparing for any competitive exam, previous year question is very, very important, because if you get an idea about the trend or the pattern of the paper, then it's very easier for us in general to prepare. Okay, so make sure that you keep those things in mind. So this is also one more important learning. Okay, I hope that is clear to us as well. Okay, so let's proceed with the next problem then. All right, so next problem is a very interesting problem, and it's a problem of composite functions. Okay, so it's a question of functions. So let's try to understand how we can go about solving this problem. Okay, so this question, I would say it's quite a bit of tricky, and I would have a different way of explanation to this problem. So I would generally start by plotting the function of f of n, and this has n plus 1 upon 2 if n is even, n is odd, and it's 4 minus n by 2 if n is even. So I can write n as some 2k and n as some 2k plus 1, right? And this can be given also in terms of k, and this can be given in terms of k as well. So I can, if I just put it back into this over here, I can write as k plus 1 for k belongs to natural number union 0, and it can be given as 2 minus k for k belongs to natural number, right? So what you can observe that at k equal to 0, you will get f of 1 is equal to f of 1, right? And f of 2 is equals to 1. So what I can observe directly from here is that f is not a 1 1 function. Okay, f is not a 1 1 function. Okay, not 1 1 function. But if you look at the onto nature, yes, because the f function is defined onto the all the integers, so there it is generally covering up all the integers, because it has 2k minus 1, okay, and k plus 1. Okay, so 2k plus 1 actually covers these integers like 1 0 minus 1 and so on, and the k plus 1 will cover the integers like 1 2 3 and so on. Okay, so this is all going to be covering all the integers, so therefore it is an onto function as well. It's an onto function. So f of x is f of n is an onto function, but it is not a one function. Similarly, if you do the g of n, if you do the analysis of g of n, it is equals to 2n plus 3 for n greater than or equal to 0, and it is equal to minus of 2n for n is less than 0, right? And if you notice that 1 does not belongs to the range of g of x, as 3x plus 2n, as 3x plus 2n is not equal to 1 for n greater than or equal to 0, or similarly minus of 2n also cannot be equal to 1 as n is less than 0. So therefore g of n cannot be equal to 1, so therefore g of n is not a onto function. Okay, so g of n is not an onto function. So therefore if I try to find out g of f of n, so if I try to find out g of f of n, it is going to come out as 3 plus 2 times of f of n for f of n positive, and it's going to come out as minus of f of n for f of n negative, right? And if I do that, it is going to be like 3 plus 2 times of n plus 1 by 2 for n is equal to 2k plus 1, and it is going to be 3 plus 2 times of 4 minus n by 2 for n is equal to 2k, and for negative value, so it is going to accumulate both the things, and because all these values, all this comes under this particular interval with greater than or equal to 0. So I'm just trying to figure out for different values of even and odd, right? And this is going to simplify and come out as n plus 4 for n is equal to 2k plus 1, and it's going to be 7 minus n for n is equal to 2k, 7 minus n for n is equal to 2k, right? So what you can understand that g of f of n is always odd, because you can see that it is coming out as n plus 4, okay, n plus 4 for all odd numbers. So if you're adding odd number to an even number, it is also an odd number. And similarly, when you are subtracting an odd number, when you're subtracting an even number from an odd number, it is also basically an odd. So therefore g of f of n is odd always, okay, is odd always, and it is not a onto function, okay, not an onto function, right? It is also not an onto function. So therefore if you look at the option g of f of n is not 1 1, not onto. Let's try to say it's not an onto. Let's try to understand whether it is 1 1 or not. Okay, so what I will say, if you just do by just an observation, if you find out g of f of 1 is going to come out as 5, and similarly g of f of 2, because f of 1 and f of 2 has the same value, so g of f of 1 and f of 2 should also be come out as 5. So therefore it is also not an 1 1, okay, not 1 1. It's a very simple question. It's just by doing putting the values you can check it. Okay, so therefore option A is definitely going to be the correct option. Similarly, if I look at, so I have already find out that f is not an on one, but it is an onto map. G is not 1 1, not onto. Yes, G is not 1 1, not onto. Yes, so this is also not correct. Okay, and similarly, if we find out f of g of n and you try to figure out, so f of g of n is going to look like, so you can do it just by the way I did it. So f of g of n is going to look like g of n plus 1 by 2 when g of n is equals to 2k plus 1, and it is equal to g of n 4 minus g of n by 2 when your g of n is equal to 2k. Okay, so if you put that, the functional expression is going to look like, n plus 2 for n greater than equal to 0, and then we'll have n plus 2 for n is less than 0. So you have the both same definitions. Okay, so what you can see that it is also 1 1 function. Okay, so what you can see that n plus 2 belongs to all natural number. Okay, it is true for all natural n. Okay, so it is greater than 0. So what you can see that n plus 2 is a function, and it is therefore a 1 1 function. Okay, it is therefore 1 1 function. Okay, so therefore it is said that g of f of x, f of g of x is, or f of g of n is not a 1 1. That is also incorrect. So the only correct option from this question is going to be only option A and option D. Is this question clear to all of you? Is this question clear to all of you? Please let me know if this question is clear or not. Aditya Kumar, does it matter, sir? क्या 10th क्लास की परसेंटेज मैटर करती है IIT जेई में? ना, 10th क्लास की क्वेश्चन नहीं, 10th क्लास की नॉलेज लगता होगा, नहीं लगता होगा। ओके ओके, इट डजेंट मैटर 10th में तुम्हें कितना परसेंटेज आया, कितना परसेंटेज नहीं, कोई पूछने नहीं वाला। ठीक है, what matters is knowledge. Okay, try to educate yourself and you will understand all what matters is knowledge. Okay, ये परसेंटेज परसेंटेज तो बस नंबर का खेल है। ओके, what actually matters is knowledge. Try to gather more and more knowledge so that you can be knowledgeable one day. Okay, sir, I got only 86%. Wonderful. I don't care, whatever, it's very good. Okay, but what I would like to see is that you become a good person. You have learned the all good manners, you are literate, you can read and write, and you can communicate excellently with your friends, you can build good connections. That is what actually matters. Okay, Aditya? And Aditya, since you are starting your class 11th, okay, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to never miss any upcoming notification. Okay, and if you are preparing for the JEE, then don't forget to stay tuned for this. Okay, okay, Aditya, is this clear to you, Aditya? Yes, no, anything? Right? Wonderful, wonderful, Aditya. Right. Okay, great, 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 great. So with this, we wrap up our session of discussing the J Advanced questions. Okay, so I hope I was clear in solving all the questions. I hope this session was helpful to all of you in order to help you out with your J Advanced previous year question solution. Okay, so this was the question solution, and this is a part 1. We are also going to have a part 2 subsequently in the upcoming sessions, and in the part 2 I'm going to solve the integer type questions, and that is up for the paper 1. And with that, we're also going to start up with paper 2 as well. Okay, so stay tuned for this very channel, and if you are new to this channel, I would say please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click on the bell icon to never miss any upcoming notification. We are also live with our new batches. Okay, we have started our batches for the JEE 2026 paper. So if you're someone who in class 11th or if you're class 12th, you can also start preparing for JEE mains and JEE advanced with our live ongoing batches. And also we have started with the one-shot sessions, especially on YouTube for free, and I would say please consider joining and subscribing to it. Okay, so with this part, I conclude my session over here. I hope you all had a wonderful time in solving these questions with me, and as much as I did. Okay, so with this, I would take a leave from this video, and thank you. Bye bye.